You're taking over for Michael J. Fox,
Sure.
who you just mentioned, in Spin City.
Right.
First day you're there, Steven Spielberg is following you around doing behind the scenes, right?
Well, that was actually, that was on a pilot.
Okay.
That is the reason Spin City happened.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. It was called Sugar Hill. And that's where I met Gary Goldberg.
But that had to be crazy.
That was
right?
a trip, yeah.
Okay, so do explain
because,
that.
well, Gary Goldberg and Steven were really good friends, and I guess Steven had been at the pilot taping of Family Ties, right? So it's a big hit, and Gary said, well, you're my good luck charm, so now whenever I do something, you gotta be there, right? So he invited him and didn't tell anybody. So right, and my only experience, I think, leading up to that was the guest spot on Friends, right? So we do the cold open or the first scene or whatever, and I'm just kind of leaving the set and just trying to get back, maybe a wardrobe change or whatever, and there's a guy walking backwards with a camera in front of his face asking me about how I'm feeling, how was that first scene, and it starts to take shape, and it's Spielberg behind the camera. And it's suddenly there's a lot going on, you know? And so I finally come to a stop, because I don't want to force him to keep walking backwards, right? And he's got like this, you know, whatever camera was, you know, you could get in 1999, right? And he asks me one question. He says, how do you know when to start your next line with all this audience laughter, you know? And I wasn't trying to be a smart guy. I said, I usually begin again once they've stopped. Which is, you know, and he was like, oh yeah, of course. Like, of course, that makes sense. But what didn't make sense was just that moment in itself. That there's Steven Spielberg and he's filming me, and now he's asking me a question about, like, you know, like the mechanics of some of the comedy, and it was just like, it was a mind blow. Then the thing was, the rest of that pilot, I know he's there, you know, and we did meet earlier, a couple years earlier. I did an episode of Amazing Stories, and he visited our set one day, and it was really cool, but we didn't really interact. You know, he was the EP on it. But yeah, and then Emilio and I have joked for years that there's a thing that you know, when you meet him, that you get so flustered that you say something like, it's a Brody to Jaws you, Mr. Quintberg, because Jaws for us is, you know, there's Apocalypse, then there's Jaws. And I'd seen Jaws as a child, you know, 100 times in a movie theater like that. So yeah, so that's kind of the backstory on that.
You ever talk to Spielberg about it?
No, but I did go to his house, because Denise was friends with his stepdaughter, with Jessica. And so we went there once, just stopped in, and he had hurt his knee, so he couldn't get up. And it was in the middle of Spin. And he said, you know, we're counting on you for season 7. And I said, well, it's not just me, it's, you know, I got this whole team behind me, you know. And he said, no, whatever it takes. You just get us to season 7, because I guess that's when some fun financial things happen for everybody. And I just told him, I said, I will do my darndest. I will do my best, Mr. Jawsberg. And so, yeah, we didn't get to season 7. And I always wondered if he was like, well, I told that guy. I said, look, you know, do this for us. And he didn't deliver. I don't think he saw it like that. But no, the few times we've interacted, he's a lovely man and the greatest filmmaker of our generation. Hands down, period, the end.